Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name's Madeline, and in today's video we are going to be doing a mid-year roundup of all the books that I've read so far in 2023. So it's June 17th, so basically the middle of June, and I have read 33 books. So my goal for the year is 70 books, which last year I think I read 60, so I bumped it up a little bit. I believe I'm one book ahead of schedule, which I usually like to be around like 4 books ahead of schedule just to feel like I'm on track, even though I know that makes no sense. But I feel like I've read some pretty good books so far, so let's get into it. So the first book I read this year is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas, however you pronounce it. And let's just say that that was quite possibly the best way to start off the year. I am simply obsessed with this entire series. I gave every single book a 5 stars, and I am sitting on the edge of my seat waiting for her to release a date for book number technically 5, but you know. So like I said, I read all 5 of those books, and 5 stars, 7 stars, 12 stars. I would rate it as high as I could. It was so good. I haven't really read that many fantasy books before. I feel like, you know, like there's like Divergent and Hunger Games and stuff like that, but nothing like adult fantasy. And let's just say I desperately want to read more Sarah J Maas, whatever. Then I read Consider Me, which is Playing for Keeps #1 by Becca Mack. And then I also read Play With Me, which is the second book in that series. I believe I rated both of them 3 stars. And so my rating scale is 5 stars is like best book ever, absolutely loved it, would recommend it to anybody who asked, will be thinking about it for the foreseeable future, like absolutely loved it. 4 stars was I really, really enjoyed it. There may have been like 1 or 2 things that I wish would have been different or like not in there, changed, whatever, but would recommend it to a friend, absolutely loved it. But there were a few things I would change. 3 stars would be I enjoyed it, had fun reading it, probably will forget about it after I'm done reading. Like if somebody mentioned the title to me again, I would maybe be like, what happened in that book again? But I enjoyed it enough that finished it. If somebody was like, hey, should I read this? I would say, so-so. I liked it, read it. It was fun, but nothing like outstanding. Then I read Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. Oh my gosh. I forgot how much I love young adult books. I remember reading The Wrong Bachelor by Alexandra Moody, I think is who it's by, like 4 or 5 years ago, and I just love like the neighbor next door, you're in high school, like enemies to lovers. This was just such a cute book, and I loved it. 4 stars for that one. And then of course I read Better Than the Prom, which is like this short little, I don't even know if it's considered a novella. I think I read it on like a weird website. It's like 45-page PDF that you can read, and I thought that was cute as well. I gave that 4 stars too. Just kind of, I believe it's from, was his name Wes? Yeah, Wes's point of view. Maybe not. I think it is from his point of view. But really like that one, super cute. Can't wait for the second one to come out. Not until like 2024 though, which is super sad because that's a long time away from now. Then I read Offsides, which is Rules of the Game #1 by Avery Keelan. And let's see, I rated that one 4 stars. This one was really cute. One thing about me is I am a hockey romance girl. I don't know what it is about it, but I always gravitate towards a hockey romance, and I will eat it up 9 times out of 10. Not saying that they're all great or that I enjoy all of the ones I read, but 9 times out of 10 I'm going to read it. Then I read the Kane Brothers series, so A Not So Me Cute by Megan Quinn. Then I read So Not Meant to Be and A Long Time Coming. I would say out of those three, the third one was my favorite. I just felt like I enjoyed that brother the most. I honestly don't even remember their names, but I rated the first one 3 stars, the second one 3 stars. Okay, so I rated them all 3 stars, so I obviously enjoyed them, but like I said, I can't even remember their names, so it obviously didn't stick with me too much. Then I read Things We Hide from the Light by Lucy Score, and I rated this 4 stars. I devoured Things We Never Got Over by her last summer. That was probably one of my top books that I read last year, so I was really, really anticipating this one, and I feel like I did really love it. I obviously gave it 4 stars, but I didn't like it as much as the first one. So I'm very excited for Sloane and Lucian's book, though. Like, I cannot wait for that to come out later this year. I will be devouring that ASAP. Then I read Mad Honey by Jodi Picoult, and I originally rated this 4 stars, but the more I sat on it, I was kind of like, meh, I think 3 stars. And I listened to the audio version of this, and I go back and forth with thinking, I love listening to an audiobook, whether I'm driving or going for a walk or just like doing something where I want to be listening. But I do tend to rate books lower when I listen to them. I don't know the science behind it, but I just feel like maybe I miss some details or I'm not as engaged with the book. But anyways, I really liked this one. I actually have a podcast with my sister called Probably Reading Podcast, and this was we call it Read With Us, where you can essentially read the book along with us, and then we have a podcast on it. And I feel like the consensus was we all really liked the book, but it wasn't groundbreaking. I feel like this book was kind of confusing to listen to because there's a lot of jumping back and forth between past and present, and the past isn't always, like, the past doesn't go in chronological order. It'll be like 7 years, then 9 years, then 13 years, then 2 years, and like it's just kind of confusing, but maybe reading it would have been better. So that's that on that. Then I started the Chestnut Spring series by Elsie Silver, so I started obviously with Flawless. I want to say I rated all of these 3 stars. Yeah. These ones, I'm actually reading currently the 4th one that just came out, Reckless, so we'll be giving a review on that in times to come. But again, these were just like fun to read, super short and easy reads, but nothing groundbreaking. I don't know. They were fun. Then I read The Player Next Door, which is the Polson Falls, #1 in Polson Falls series by K.A. Tucker. I loved this book. I love, like I said, a neighbor's romance. I also love K.A. Tucker. The Simple Wild is one of my favorite series. And The Player Next Door was just like a fun read. So the premise is a girl moves back to her hometown. She was in love with, I think he was like the quarterback of their football team or whatever. She moved away, came back, ended up buying the house right next door to him. He's a single dad, and I haven't read a lot about like single parents or anything, but it was fun to like see the relationship between the female main character and the son. I just thought that was cool. But yeah, I gave this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. Thought it was fun. Then I read 6 Summers to Fall by C.W. Farnsworth, and C.W. Farnsworth has slowly become an author I really enjoy reading. I think I've read maybe like 4 books by them, and I've enjoyed all the ones that I have. This one was a 3-star for me. I feel like, I don't know if it was the mood I was in when I was reading it, or if I just really didn't care for it, but this is probably my least favorite one I've read by her to date. But it was kind of summery. It was about a bachelor and bachelorette combined week-long festivity up at a cabin on a lake, or like a resort on the lake. I just felt like the romance between the two of them, I needed more. Like, I didn't really feel the romance, so I think that's probably why I rated it lower. Then I started the Windy City series, so Mile High and The Right Move. I'll just start by saying Mile High was a 2-star for me. Like, this book icked me out, like, so bad. I just did not vibe with this book at all. I started it, and immediately within like the first 5 pages, I was like ready to DNF it. I put it down, moved on to another book. I remember talking on the podcast and being like, okay, this book is not my vibe. Just the way that like the main male character was and how he spoke, and just like not, I'm like fine with like a broody guy, and you know, I'll even look past like some toxic traits, but this man, I just like, I couldn't do it. But one of our listeners actually DM'd us and was like, please just like keep reading, like he gets better, and like the second book is like so worth it to like just keep going. So I did. Still ended up not liking the book, but I will say, I think it's The Right Move, the second book in that series. I don't know if I said, but it's by Liz Tomford. Loved it. I really, really, really enjoyed the second book. I gave it 4 stars. Ryan Shea, perfect book boyfriend. That is like what like every girl wants a Ryan Shea as their boyfriend. Okay, then I read, I actually have this one with me because I just bought it today, The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walder. I loved this book, like loved it so much that I bought it. Also, it doesn't hurt that it's like this cute pink color and will be going on my bookshelf. I don't own a lot of physical books just because I am a Kindle girly until the day I die, but I do want to start collecting books. I think they're cute on a bookshelf, and it's an expensive hobby to have, purchasing books, I've realized, but I think I'll only purchase books that I would reread, love the look of, and just books that I love. I'm not sure I would buy a book that I don't know. I was going to say I'm not sure I will buy a book that I haven't read, but I did just purchase this by K.L. Walder. K.L. Walder? Oh my gosh. What Happens After Midnight? It's actually not even released yet. It releases on June 27th, but Barnes & Noble had it today, so I was like, I have to buy it because of how much I loved this book. So I just got back from Cape Cod, and this book takes place on Martha's Vineyard, so not necessarily the same thing, but essentially the same vibe. And I remember, so this is a YA, and I don't know what it is about this book, but it just like makes you have so much nostalgia for being young and in love, and it's so good. If you don't know what this book is about, it's about a girl who goes up to her family's, they're not even cabins, they're like houses oh my gosh, can I speak? On Martha's Vineyard. They play assassin every summer, and her cousin, I believe, is getting married, and her cousin's future or fiance's brother. Okay, I'm getting it twisted probably. Anyways, it's a love story on Martha's Vineyard. Very good young adult love. I do feel like for young adult, it was still like a really, really, really great romance. 5 stars, absolutely loved it. Probably one of my favorite books I've read this year. We'll see. I'm really excited to read What Happens After Midnight. I'm currently reading it, only 1 chapter in, so I will keep you guys tuned on that. Then I read Coach by Devney Perry. I want to say I gave this, 3 stars again. It was okay. A football book. It was fine. I liked it. Not going to think about it again, though. Then I read, or should I say listened to, Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez, which Abby Jimenez has really become one of my favorite authors. I have devoured everything that she has put out. I loved Part of Your World, which is the first book in this series. They are standalones. You don't have to read you don't have to read Part of Your World, but I highly recommend reading that first because Bree obviously makes an appearance in the first book. Loved it. I want to say I gave this one 4 stars, but again, I listened to it, so I feel had I read it, probably would have been 5 stars. I really liked it. Abby Jimenez is also an author where I want to buy all of her books. Akatar and Abby Jimenez are like on my list to purchase all the paperbacks. I really want to, which I'll get into in a minute, purchase all of Emily Henry's books, but in due time, you know? Then I read Say You Swear by Megan Brandy, which has been all over Book Talk. For like 3 months in a row, I was seeing this book everywhere. And I was like, okay, I'll read it. It's really long. Yeah, 681 pages. So for a romance, I feel like that's like, you gotta put in work to finish that. I gave it 4 stars. I feel like the first 75% of this book, I was eating it up. I loved it. And then if you read it, you know what I'll be talking about. But the twist in there, it just like, I don't know. I get that that's what the book is about, but I didn't love how it ended and like the twist and just like, I don't know, it gave me like anxiety reading it, and I was just like, I don't know. So the last 25% knocked it down a star for me, but I did enjoy it. Then I read The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I don't know how you say his last name. But The Silent Patient. I listened to this as well, which even if I hadn't listened to it, I don't feel like my rating would be different. I gave it 3 stars. I just feel like the shock value was 0 for me. People love this book, which all of my friends on Goodreads have rated it 5 stars. So I was like, when I rated it 3 stars, I was like, oh my gosh, like people are gonna come at me for rating it so low compared to them. But it just like wasn't impressive to me. I don't know what it was, but I just, at the end of the book, I wasn't left feeling like, oh my gosh, that was like such a great book. I was kind of like, meh, I've read better psychological thrillers than that. Okay, here we go. Carly Fortune. I loved Every Summer After. Like that last summer was one of my favorite summer books I read. I feel like I read it within like, in 24 to 48 hours, like want to reread it at some point. So I was really, really looking forward to Meet Me at the Lake, and I hated it. This was a 2-star for me. Had I not paid like the $13 on Kindle to read it, I probably would have DNF'd it. I felt like there was so much anticipation for her to come out with this second book and for it to be as good as Every Summer After, because I feel like the majority of people loved Every Summer After. And I do think that the consensus on Meet Me at the Lake is that it just didn't meet the mark. So I was super, super disappointed in this. I did not connect with the characters at all. I feel like the past and present was fine, but I just feel like nothing happened in the present tense. And like, maybe if the book would have been longer and more happened, I felt like the ending was super rushed, and like the reason for them not talking for 10 years was just like kind of dumb in my opinion. I don't know. I just didn't like it. If you did, I'm happy for you. I wish I would have liked it. I'm hoping that her next book she releases is better than this one. But yeah, just wasn't it for me. Then I read Weekside by S.J. Silvis, and I rated this 3 stars. Again, another hockey book, 3 stars, you know. Then this one might be a little controversial, but I read Fine Print by Lauren Asher, and I DNF'd it. So 1 star for this one. Please let me know if I need to like come back to this and try again. I think I read like 100 pages of it and I was like, this is horrible. Like I did not like it. I felt like there was a lot of cringy moments. I feel like there's also a difference between the male main character being like broody and like rude and like just kind of like mean. And then there's like who I think this male main character, that's a mouthful, was, and he was just like downright like a dick. Like I just did not like him at all. I don't know. It wasn't for me. I don't think I'll try again probably, but it just wasn't for me. Then I read, which I'm so excited. Binding 13. So Boys of Toma #1 by Chloe Walsh. Oh my gosh. So I should preface this by saying I've only read the first two. So I've read Binding 13 and Keeping 13. I loved, my dog is trying to drink my water. I read the first book. I will say like the first 75 pages of it, I was kind of like, oh man, like this is kind of like taking a minute for me to get into. I like hope I'm gonna like it because it's like 700 and I don't know, 20 pages or something like that. Like it's kind of a long commitment. Absolutely loved it after that. I think I gave it 4 stars just because I was like, the first 75 pages I wish would have pulled me in quicker, but I did really love it, so 4 stars. But Keeping 13, oh my gosh, it is worth every single page. It's 950 pages, and it is, I like did not want it to end. I was turning every page, every chapter. I was like, I like was eating it up. I was so obsessed with this. Shannon and Johnny are my favorite. I'm excited to start, what is it, Saving 6, I think, about Joey and Aoife. But, oh my gosh, loved Binding 13 and Keeping 13 so much. If you have not read it, definitely add it to your TBR. Don't let the length, like, freak you out or turn you away from it, because it is worth it, I promise. And then the most recent book I read was Happy Place by Emily Henry, which I really, really liked. I would say that this is my favorite Emily Henry book to date. Again, like I know that it doesn't take place on Cape Cod, but that's what I was envisioning while reading this. And just like, did you just hear him burp? Okay. You're disgusting. But I was just like, it's not a cabin, like the cottage that they're at, like all I could picture was like where we stayed, and like just like super fun friend. I loved like the friend, it's not friend romance, but like the love between the friendships, the second chance romance, the one bed trope, like all of it. I really, really liked it. 4 stars just because I feel like I've read better books that I enjoyed more this year. And I'm trying to be more, like, not giving every book 5 stars, even though I think I've gave, like, 2 5 stars this entire year. Well, other than Akatar, I should say. But, yeah, no, I really liked it. And usually, well, I shouldn't say usually, but, like, Beach Read by Emily Henry, did I say this already? I listened to. I don't think I did, but I listened to that again. Probably would have been a 4 star for me, but it was a 3 star because I listened to it. So, I don't know, maybe I need to stop listening to books if that's how I'm going to rate them. But anyways, so those are the books that I have read so far in 2023. I'm excited to see if I meet my goal or exceed it potentially. Probably not, but yeah. So let me know in the comments what you guys are reading. If you have any thoughts on the book that I DNF'd, the fine print, or if there are any books that you think I should read. And with that, I will see you next video. Bye guys!